Hey guys, day 6 of 13 Days of Halloween. I'm starting out in my Jane Davenport crap art journal. And I have some ephemera bits from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to rip them up and kind of use them as like little kind of pattern paper pieces. And I'm just going to place them around and then glue them down with some Collage Page mat. And the Jane Davenport paper, quote unquote, watercolor paper in this journal is super thin, super crappy. So I put like 3 layers of gesso on my page to try to give it a little more tooth. I'm not going to toss the journal because, I'm not going to waste it, but I need to find some way to make it usable. The pages have been falling out, so I've been kind of using them in like junk journals and stuff like that, but the pages that are left, I guess I'm going to have to add a lot of gesso to. So then I also took some design tape, washi tape by Tim Holtz, and ripped pieces of those up and put those around because we got to use those up. And then I'm going to add a layer of gesso, but I'm also going to take a baby wipe and kind of wipe a lot of that gesso away from the pattern because I want to be able to see it. And I learned from my mistake in my other pages where I put too much gesso and it obscured the pattern and you couldn't see it. So I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen here. And I really feel like I've been doing this kind of background. This is how I start a lot of my Halloween pages. So I need to switch it up, I think. Yeah, so I'm just going to go back and forth until I'm happy with the way that it looks. And then I'm going to do a little stamping. I have this Halloween sentiment by Viva Las Vegas Stamps. It says, when witches go riding and black cats are seen, something, 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 'tis near Halloween. So I'm just going to stamp that on my page, and then I'm going to stamp it out on a piece of cardstock and just cut out the word Halloween. I'm going to edge that with a black ink pad, and then I'm going to stick that puppy right over top of the Halloween word on my page. It's just like a little extra mustard on it, a little extra pizzazz. Dress it up a little. I'm going to stamp that stamp around a couple more times around my page, and then I'm going to add another Halloween sentiment stamp. And then I'm going to make sure that's dry, and I'm going to go in with my Distress Stain and Spiced Marmalade. I'm going to add quite a bit of water to it because I thought I wanted like a pale kind of yellowy look to this page. I changed my mind, but I'm going to use water also to kind of get things flowing and moving. So I have this die cut. It's by Tim Holtz. It's a set of 4. It's called Geo Halloween. It's got this owl, a bat, a spider, and a bug, I think. But so it's got all these like little cutout areas. So I just die cut him from black, backed him on white cardstock, and then I'm just going to use a whole bunch of different embossing powders to color his little areas in. I got this idea from Barbara from Yaya Scrap. She had taken the owl and die cut little pieces of cardstock, and some were like sparkly. And I figured since I have so many embossing powders that I don't really ever use, I would use embossing powder to do this. So this one is just like a straight orange. And then the next one is called Cinnamon Spice by Stamp Stuff. I honestly don't even know where this came from. Maybe it came in Happy Meal. It just showed up one day. I don't know. But it's kind of got fall colors, and it's got a little bit of a shimmer to it, whereas that other orange didn't. So I wanted a little bit of shine on some of these areas. So I'm just using a glue pen because I don't have an embossing pen. I did have one, and Ranger sent it to me, and I got rid of it because I'm like, what am I going to use this for? And now I could have really used it. Yeah, so once I'm happy, I add 2 layers of each embossing powder, and then I have a clear glitter and a white because I don't have like a sparkly white, and I'm gonna add the white first, and then I'm just gonna apply this with my fingers because I don't want the white to completely cover the areas because I want to be able to add my sparkles in there. So I'm just going to use my fingers and kind of add a little bit on there till I'm happy. And then I'm going to heat set that and move on to my black and gunmetal. Well, actually it's ebony and gunmetal, excuse me. And just going to do some of the areas with that. Now, it looks really crazy because the embossing powder goes over the lines, but I'm going to fix that after we're all done with it. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of the areas with the black and the gunmetal. And then this is how it looks when it's done real crazy. But I'm going to take another one of these black die cut pieces and just pop that puppy right on top, because it'll cover up the parts where the embossing powder went over my lines. I had done this before and I layered up my pieces and then added the embossing powder, and it didn't work. So I learned from that mistake. I did the embossing powder first and then layered it up. And then I'm going to take my bird branch Tim Holtz die and a scrap piece of cardstock and some, this is from the new Tim Holtz washi tape Halloween. It's like a wood grain kind of situation, and I'm just going to line my whole piece of paper. This is another technique I really like to use up my washi tape to die cut shapes out of it, and because it's a branch and it's wood grain, it's perfect. I'm just gonna remove that there. I have a little extra piece that didn't have washi tape on the end, so I'm just gonna add another piece of tape and cut that off. And then I can hack off my bird there because I don't need him. We're going to add the owl. I'm going to trim some of the branches now and some later. But I want to do a little more to the background. It was looking very pale compared to how in your face the owl is. So I wanted to spruce up the background a little bit. So I'm going to stamp more with that Halloween sentiment stamp. I'm going to do first, second, third generation stamping to get different variations. And then I'm going to add some more of the Spiced Marmalade Distress Stain. And I only used one color. It's the Spiced Marmalade, but because I added water in the first layer and then gesso and then full strength, I got a lot of different variations in tone of the color, which I enjoy quite a bit. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of water and then dry that once I'm happy with how it looks. And then I'm going to stamp this moon with bats. It's by Viva Las Vegas Stamps. It kind of looks a little bit like a coffee ring, like it's kind of distressed looking. It's really cool. And then I'm going to stamp the extra bat around the moon as well. And then I'm going to hack off some more of the branches because it didn't feel spooky enough or dead enough for me. It looked more spring and I wanted more fall. So then I'm going to work on a little embellishment cluster on the base of my branch. This is a orange and black ephemera piece by Tim Holtz. And before I do that, I'm going to pop my owl up on using a piece of black fun foam. I'm just going to cut it out in the shape of my owl and then add glossy accents so that I can glue him down. I love glossy accents. It's a really great glue. It holds things on really well, and it is a little pricey for that little bottle, but honestly, since I discovered it like 7 years ago, this is only my second bottle and I'm maybe halfway done with it, so it really lasts because you only need a teeny tiny bit. I'm also going to glue my bats down. They're from the Bat Crazy die by Tim Holtz, and then I have let's see, this fishnet ribbon from I believe it's from Target, the Dollar Spot. And then I have this little like resin bone, and I also have some like metal pieces. I have an owl metal piece. I got it from Tuesday Morning. It's a Tim Holtz. It's like from maybe last year or 2 years. It's owls and spiders. But I got it over the summer, and I love getting stuff on clearance because it's like you get twice the joy. You get the joy of buying it, and then you put it away, forget you have it, and you get the joy of rediscovering it once it's Halloween time. Actually, 3 times the joy, because then you get the joy of using it. So I'm gonna wrap some black and white baker's twine around my bone, and I also applied my little owl to that baker's twine. And I'm going to stitch my bone on using that twine because I was afraid, since it's like a very thin kind of area of the bone, that it wouldn't stay in my art journal. So I figured that stitching it down would hold it in place better. And then I'm going to take some orange thread, and it's like a little circle kind of charm with a back cut out of it. And I'm going to stitch that around my bone as well. I just go back and forth around my bone, and then the stupid thing fell off. Guess my knot wasn't good enough. I'm not going to make you watch me struggling to put it back on. So I put it back on, and then I punched a half-inch circle out of black cardstock. I'm going to rough up the edges with my paper distresser tool, and then I'm just going to take the number 31 from some white stickers and kind of stick them on there, offset a little bit. It was a little, the white was a little bright, so I'm going to add a little bit of that spiced marmalade, and then I'm also going to add a little bit of black soot, just whatever was left on my blender tool. And then I can use my glossy accents to glue that puppy down. And then I'm going to take this Beware word. It's the Tim Holtz chipboard Halloween, but they're super dimensional, so you can peel that top layer off. So I just peeled that top layer off, and then roughed up the edges and used my black soot to cover up those white edges. And then I'm going to add these teeny tiny bats. They are from a Studio G punch. Studio G is like the AC Moore house brand. And the bats are cool because they're super duper tiny. So they from far away look like weird shaped splatters. But then up close, bam, bats. Okay, so then I add some real black splatters and add some little dots to my bats so they can have little eyes. And that's it for my page. I gotta tell you guys, this is by far my favorite of this year. Ugh, I love my owl. I love the little embellishment cluster. It did take me quite a long time to do it, so I gotta make some projects that are quick and easy. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye, guys.